Section 45 of Reviews by Oscar Wilde. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Karen Savage. Reviews by Oscar Wilde, edited by Robert Ross. Section 45. Mr. Morris's Odyssey. Pall Mall Gazette, April 26, 1887. Of all our modern poets, Mr. William Morris is the one best qualified by nature and by art to translate for us the marvellous epic of the wanderings of Odysseus. For he is our only true story singer since Chaucer. If he is a socialist, he is also a saga man, and there was a time when he was never wearied of telling us strange legends of gods and men, wonderful tales of chivalry and romance. Master as he is of decorative and descriptive verse, he has all the Greek's joy in the visible aspect of things, all the Greek's sense of delicate and delightful detail, all the Greek's pleasure in beautiful textures and exquisite materials and imaginative designs. Nor can anyone have a keener sympathy with the Homeric admiration for the workers and craftsmen in the various arts, from the stainers in white ivory and the embroiderers in purple and fold, to the weaver sitting by the loom, and the dyer dipping in the vat, the chaser of shield and helmet, the carver of wood or stone. And to all this is added the true temper of high romance, the power to make the past as real to us as the present, the subtle instinct to discern passion, the swift impulse to portray life. It is no wonder the lovers of Greek literature have so eagerly looked forward to Mr. Morris's version of the Odyssean epic, and now that the first volume has appeared, it is not extravagant to say that of all our English translations this is the most perfect and the most satisfying. In spite of Coleridge's well-known views on the subject, we have always held that Chapman's Odyssey is immeasurably inferior to his Iliad, the mere difference of metre alone being sufficient to set the former in a secondary place. Pope's Odyssey, with its glittering rhetoric and smart antithesis, has nothing of the grand manner of the original. Cowper is dull, and Bryant dreadful, and Worsley too full of Spenserian prettiness. While excellent though Messrs. Butcher and Lang's version undoubtedly is in many respects, still, on the whole, it gives us merely the facts of the Odyssey, without providing anything of its artistic effect. Avia's translation even, though better than almost all its predecessors in the same field, is not worthy of taking rank beside Mr. Morris's, for here we have a true work of art, a rendering not merely of language into language, but of poetry into poetry, and though the new spirit added in the transformation may seem to many rather Norse than Greek, and perhaps at times more boisterous than beautiful, there is yet a vigour of life in every line, a splendid ardour through each canto, that stirs the blood while one reads, like the sound of a trumpet, and that, producing a physical as well as a spiritual delight, exalts the senses no less than it exalts the soul. It may be admitted at once that here and there Mr. Morris has missed something of the marvellous dignity of the Homeric verse, and that, in his desire for rushing and ringing metre, he has occasionally sacrificed majesty to movement, and made stateliness give place to speed. But it is really only in such blank verse as Milton's that this effect of calm and lofty music can be attained, and in all other respects blank verse is the most inadequate medium for reproducing the full flow and fervour of the Greek hexameter. One merit at any rate Mr. Morris's version entirely and absolutely possesses. It is, in no sense of the word, literary. It seems to deal immediately with life itself, and to take from the reality of things its own form and colour. It is always direct and simple, and at its best has something of the large utterance of the early gods. As for individual passages of beauty, nothing could be better than the wonderful description of the house of the Phaeacian king, or the whole telling of the lovely legend of Circe, or the manner in which the pageant of the pale phantoms in Hades is brought before our eyes. Perhaps the huge epic humour of the escape from the Cyclops is hardly realized, but there is always a linguistic difficulty about rendering this fascinating story into English, and where we are given so much poetry we should not complain about losing a pun. And the exquisite idyll of the meeting and parting with the daughter of Alcinous is really delightfully told. How good, for instance, is this passage, taken at random from the 6th book: But therewith unto the handmaids goodly Odysseus spake, Stand off, I bid you, damsels, while the work in hand I take, and wash the brine from my shoulders, and sleek them all around, since verily now this long while sweet oil they have not found. But before you nought will I wash me, for shame I have indeed, Amidst of fair tressed damsels to be all bare of weed. So he spake, and aloof they gat them, and thereof they told the May. But Odysseus with the river from his body washed away The brine from his back and his shoulders, wrought broad and mightily. And from his head was he wiping the foam of the untilled sea. But when he had thoroughly washed him, and the oil about him had shed, He did upon the raiment the gift of the maid unwed. But Athena, Zeus begotten, dealt with him in such wise, That bigger yet was his seeming, and mightier to all eyes, With the hair on his head crisp curling as the bloom of the daffodil. And as when the silver with gold is o'erlaid by a man of skill, Yea, a craftsman whom Hephaestus and Pallas Athena have taught To be master over masters, and lovely work he hath wrought, So she round his head and his shoulders shed grace abundantly. It may be objected by some that the line with the hair on his head crisp curling as the bloom of the daffodil is a rather fanciful version of oulas eke komas ou akintino anthe omoias, and it certainly seems probable that the allusion is to the dark colour of the hero's hair. Still, the point is not one of much importance, though it may be worth noting that a similar expression occurs in Ogilby's superbly illustrated translation of the Odyssey, published in 1665, where Charles II's Master of the Revels in Ireland gives the passage thus: Minerva renders him more tall and fair, curling in rings like daffodils his hair. No anthology, however, can show the true merit of Mr. Morris's translation, whose real merit does not depend on stray beauties, nor is revealed by chance selections, but lies in the absolute rightness and coherence of the whole, in its purity and justice of touch, its freedom from affectation and commonplace, its harmony of form and matter. It is sufficient to say that this is a poet's version of a poet, and for such surely we should be thankful. In these latter days of coarse and vulgar literature it is something to have made the great sea epic of the South native and natural to our northern isle, something to have shown that our English speech may be a pipe through which Greek lips can blow, something to have taught Nausicaa to speak the same language as Perdita. The Odyssey of Homer, done into English verse by William Morris, author of The Earthly Paradise, in 2 volumes. Volume 1, Reeves and Turner. For the review of Volume 2, see Mr. Morris's completion of the Odyssey, page 215. End of section 45. Mr. Morris's Odyssey.